massive hit. Oh, they've clipped. Off. How he held on to that, I don't know. This is the biggest crash in RGL history. He's out of control and into the wall. Brace yourselves, this is going to be action-packed. Hi and welcome to the RGL Forza Championships for 2013. And moving on to round 3 for the V8 Supercar series. Promising to be a very interesting round after a little bit of history showing up at the moment. We've got quite a number of incidents that have sort of got some of the drivers pumped up and ready to go from the previous 2 rounds. We're on Infineon Raceway here, a very narrow track, a lot of deviation and also tight corners, and that making for some very difficult pack racing. We're looking forward to seeing just how this goes, and we sort of believe that this will sort of be a defining round where we'll start to really see how the drivers shape up as they settle in and get used to each other's driving styles, and where the points sit at the completion of this race. And we'll start to have some much better predictions on how the year may just turn out, at least for the V8 Supercars. So using the Infineon Raceway long course with the nice big dipping left hand sweeper middle of the track there, and quite a few heavy braking areas which are good for passing, which we'll look at there, second last turn and also up the top end of the track. So 4.06 kilometers there. Well, let's take a look at qualifying now. And once again, R Bretley has proven to be one of the fastest drivers in the field. Taking out pole position again ahead of FCR Ninja. So Ninja's really starting to bring his A game here. That's twice now he's qualified very high in the order. So he's hoping for really good results here. Excata's also again qualifying well in position 3. Twistie Corners starting in an unfamiliar place in position 4 in row 2. And meanwhile the defending champion starting out of P7. But when you look at those times, they're so close right through until you get to P9, and even through from P9 to P14. Also again very close times. So with Jake Moe and Gundam Scratch they couldn't get a clean lap through, but their best times were actually in the 134, 135s. So again, a very, very close spread in times, which hopefully means we'll have a very exciting action-packed race, lots of battles, as we used to. Let's get this race underway. 3 lights. Who will win round 3 of the V8 Supercars as we get started? Ninja bogging it down just a little bit at the start, but otherwise all the other drivers get away pretty quickly. And let's see if we can get through this area clean. This is a very hard section of track. You got to the left, up the hill, and then quickly to the right. A lot of areas for drivers to lose a bit of control and step the vehicle out. But they all look to have gotten through pretty cleanly. Just a little bit of contact there in the background with one of the Queensland APRT drivers. I believe that might have been Rum Runner. And they head down the hill now. Again, another very tight turn, and then we go around to the right and head towards the big sweeper that drops down to the left. And pistol fit out there a little bit wide, but doing well. And Alcimo, the defending champion, in the number 1 car for Nerd Motorsport, following you watching. And Jake Moe very wide. Now Jake Moe obviously very quick in the V8 Supercars. He's already made up some spots. I believe 4 spots already. Oh, and a big dive from Gohard there has given Alcimo a bit of a tap. No harm done, I don't think, although Scavenger's looking to make a move. So he hasn't lost any spots, luckily, there for Gohard after a pretty big dive, but Jake Moe has benefited from it, and he's up behind Scavenger now. And looking for the pass. Again, he's very quick in the V8, so obviously would have qualified a lot higher had he got a clean lap through, so he would have been disappointed. Off the track, big moment, almost into the wall. F34R Bretley is making his move, getting a gap on Ninja, and Catters is putting the pressure on the HD Motorsport driver. And not too big a gap opening up across the field at the moment. And Ninja's got to watch out. He's got a little bit of lag happening again, which was a big problem in the DBS series. And it's Catters, no surprise there, making the fastest lap, not by much, but a 1:40.101 as a standing lap. These guys should bring it down to the 1:35s. And Ninja just getting a bit of breathing space on Catters as Twistie Corners starts to apply pressure on the Screwdriver Racing young gun. And also just a quick mention that you'll see on these liveries, we'll hopefully get a shot of it soon on the Screwdriver Racing team Commodores. They've got the Anzac emblem there in honour of Anzac Day, which was a little bit ago, but at the time of the round when this actually happened ahead of the replay coming out, it was just ahead of Anzac Day. So on board now with Highboy for Twistie Motorsport, following his teammate in no recoil. Oh, there's a big incident there. Ninja spun out, Catters is spun out. You're watching off the track. And once again, drama has hit the V8 Supercars in Tier 1. Again, we will try and get a replay for you as quick as possible, but that's just giving Bretley extra room as the second and third positions have just been taken out of the race, and Twistie Corners now left in second position as heaps of drivers are diving into the pit lane now. I think there's at least 5 drivers that are pitting, maybe even 6, especially after that incident, maybe more. So those staying out at the moment, Gundam 27, APRT Queenslander Gohard, I believe, and F34R Bretley with the new fast lap 1:37.073. And Pistol Fitz also remained out on track, so these guys are at the back of the field at the moment. Gundam starting from last, he's made a couple of positions by look at there, and also Queensland Rum Runners remained out on track as well. So lots of drivers in the pit lane, and here we go, no recoil exiting with Elsimo, and they've crossed the blend line. That's going to come under review from the stewards there. There is a particular rule on when to enter out of the pit lane. And look at 9394 leaderboard, and we can see there recoil. So we've got 6 that had pitted recoil: Elsimo, Jake Mo, Scavenger, Catters, Ninja, all pitting. And we'll just have to wait and see when these other ones file through exactly where everyone ends up. You're watching also pitted, obviously, because he was in the wars with that incident there. But at the moment, recoil just defending his position from Elsimo. So this will be an interesting battle once again. These guys are having a very good battle in the DBS series, continuing that at the moment. And Jake Mo's applying some pressure onto Elsimo himself. And on board now with the race leader, F34R Bretley. So again, he's really bringing his A game out at the moment, and another fastest lap already into the 1:35s. And there's Twistie Corners just coming over the hill there, so already got a decent gap, but Twistie's generally pretty fast, even though he didn't qualify on the front row. Here we might get a replay now of this incident. So on board with Ninja, and there's Bretley going off the track. Ninja trying to make some room, and Catters, he's trying to squeeze up there, and contact then spun. They're both out. And just top of your screen there's you watch it, he's clipped the front of Catters' car. So on board with Catters here, and he was looking for a move, and right there you can see Ninja there on the left. There was just no room for him to be there, so he's obviously been a little bit too impatient with that move, and then BAM! You're watching, nowhere to go. Coming through that cloud of dust, he wouldn't have seen Catters' car just slightly angled on the track, and he caught a lot of damage there. So another unfortunate incident, but that is racing. The show must go on, and meanwhile these guys are going out at hammer and tong. Elsimo trying to gain on recoil, Jake Mo trying to gain on Elsimo. And now on board with Scavenger, and here you get a nice good look at, oh no, this is Catters, my apologies. And just cutting back now, we've got a couple more in the pit lane. I believe that was one of them, looked to be Jake Mo. We'll wait and see who they are exactly. No, he's already pitted, so we'll wait and see who's gone into pit lane, and we'll get back to you on that. Meanwhile, Go Hard cycling around on his own, so he can obviously put in some pretty good clean laps here. Might even be able to gain a few positions. And Bretley right on the 134s. Not sure that he'll be able to beat that lap during the race. We'll wait and see. He's just punched out a faster lap each time. And I guess for the APRT Queensland guys, they were hoping to do probably a little bit better so far in the series. But again, they at the early stages they weren't sure what their competition would be like. At the moment, quite a few fast drivers entered into the series at the last minute. And Jake Mo on the inside trying to look for a pass on Elsimo. I don't think he's going to make it stick because Elsimo has the right side of the track for the next corner. He should stay ahead of the... Oh, big moment by Elsimo, stepping it right out. And Jake Mo is obviously racing a lot faster. He's lapping very quickly for the Dude 67 Race Shop entry. And back on board now with Elsimo, and there's Jake Mo hound on the back of the Nerd Motorsport driver. Yeah, another heavy braking section here. You can see the brakes glowing as they enter the turn, which you might have seen on a couple of shots previously. And then through this very fast but technical winding section, you can't overcook it or you'll find yourself off the track in an instant and losing a massive amount of time. You see here, this is Twistie Corners cycling around in second place, again yet to make his pit stop. I dare say both himself and Bretley are looking for that late pit entry. And I believe the gap itself has actually increased, not by much, between himself and Bretley. And there you go, there's those brakes glowing hot red. And you just see back in the distance there, Bretley further up the road, and I believe that is High Boy, not too far behind Twistie Corners at the moment. So again, another good performance so far from the Taztec Motorsport driver. And Twistie will be doing everything he possibly can to catch Bretley. But he has a challenger, and there's Scavenger in Screwdriver's Racing Commodore with the livery showing off the Anzac emblem. And he's followed very closely by, I believe, Queensland Run Runner. And we've only got 4 laps left to this action-packed race. And just ahead of them, and Run Runner really starting to put some pressure onto Scavenger. Back with race leader Bretley. He's got plenty of time, plenty of space just to concentrate on his rhythm, keeping it all nice and flowing along this track, and rhythm is what it's all about, especially when it comes to Infinium Raceway. So much deviation in the track, very easy to lose traction with these vehicles. And having a last look at the leaderboard, and we've got the top 4, we've got 5 more drivers still yet to pit, and at the moment Bretley, Twistie Corners and Highboy are the ones that will be most likely to come out ahead of Recoil and Elsimo. Go Hard and Biscuit will shuffle down the field after completing their pit stop. And then Ninja's doing pretty good recovery after that incident, although he ended up getting spun around enough. He ended up facing the right way and was able to continue on. So he lost a lot of spots, obviously 7, but hasn't quite suffered as badly as Catters or you watching. losing 10 and 6 spots and unlikely to gain anything from there. And on to lap 8 now, just 3 laps left. I should say 3 and a bit. And there's no sign there of Twistie, so he's obviously making a bit more of a gap here. Very dominant performance from the Fear Racing driver. And again, Relentless unable to make it for this round of the V8 Supercars. So Fear Bretley's got to do as much as he can to get all the points and keep his team in the running for a decent place in the Constructors title. And this is Highboy exiting pit lane. And there goes Alcimo Jakemo. So, oh, and he's crossed the blend line too, so he'll feel the wrath of the stewards there. But he has dropped in behind Recall, Alcimo and Jakemo, so he'll be a little bit disappointed. He might have felt like he was going to place a little bit better, but he's still a few more laps, and any mistake might see him gain another position. And Jakemo just hasn't let go of the back of Alcimo there, putting a lot of pressure on the defending champion, and he should be able to handle it. He wouldn't be a defending champion if he couldn't handle this sort of pressure. And he's just gone wide. Has put the moz on him now. He's just lost that spot to Jakemo. And that has seen Highboy just make a small gain on them as they keep fighting. I think Alcimo managed to slingshot him. That is unbelievable. So he went wide, but because of that he obviously had enough straight line speed from the exit of that turn, while Jakemo took a slightly more narrow approach. And there's Ninja not too far behind these guys, so he's done pretty well to recover from that incident. But again, his bad luck continues. If you remember going back to Road America, there was an incident with him and Fear Bretley when they were travelling in second and third. Ninja was coming second to Twistie Corners, and he got spun around and came well down in the field. So, oh, and Jakemo on the inside, can he make this one stick? Alcimo's still pegging it here, trying to keep that position. I think he will. He's got the inside for the next turn onto the pit straight, and he has kept that position. Another fantastic battle going on here. Watching it all from Highboy's point of view at the moment, and just looking back in the pack here, Scavenger followed by Gundam 27. So his first outing for the V8 Supercar Series as well. And again, quite a lot of groups of cars, very closely packed up, but overall the spread from first to last is pretty significant. But when you have an incident like that, it doesn't, at the early stages of the race, it doesn't help. Heading down the sweeper here. Gundam sort of trying to get a bit more of a feel for the V8 Supercars. He said he'd just see how he went in this first round. He wasn't sure exactly how well he would place, but I think all he was looking for was a nice clean race and to, you know, effectively race himself and make sure that he was a consistent driver. So he's doing that so far, staying out of trouble. And the race leader still yet to pit, and he'll have to do it at the end of this lap. This is the final lap for drivers to enter the pit lane. I believe Twistie Corners pitted a lap before, so we might even see just how they match up in a moment, but I dare say that Fear Bretley has more than covered Twistie Corners with his lap times. He hasn't made any mistakes so far. There's nothing showing up on the timing to suggest otherwise. So Fear Bretley about to enter the pit lane, and comes around this next corner here. Here he goes into the pit lane and just tracking now with Twistie Corners, and he's actually in a battle with no recall, so don't worry about first and second. We should be worrying about second and third by the look of it. And Recoil's done very well to make some gains on Twistie, and one would wonder whether or not this has been his preferred track or not. He may not even like this one. Obviously find it a little bit more difficult than the likes of Road America. Very aware that this track it's a bit of a love or hate type track. You either love it or you hate it, and not too much in between, and quite a few drivers would prefer not to be racing here, but it is part of the series and they've got to fight it out. And they're just coming around now, so F34R Bretley, you can see, just coming onto the pit lane, out of the pit lane now, and he's entered the racetrack correctly, and these guys just crossing the line there, so well ahead of these two. But again, recoil, just wishing for that extra second or two per lap to really put the pressure on Twistie and try and get a second spot. But he's looking very good for a podium here, because I believe 4th place is a little way back. And I think if you remember a little few laps ago, it was actually Elsimo tracking no recoil, and then Jake Moe not too far behind that. When they actually came out of the pit lane, Elsimo was right behind recoil. So recoil's put in some very good laps. So he's managed to break away from Elsimo and gain on Twistie Corners. So an excellent race by Fantastic Motorsport driver. And just coming around on the final lap of the race, and recoil just hoping for this, that one little mistake, that little step out by Twistie, just to get him some advantage, but very unlikely to come from the APRT driver. Very methodical, and very little mistakes made by him so far in this series. And making a bit of a gain on Bretley. Bretley might have taken just a little bit easy on this final lap, just to make sure that he come home safely. And here he is, and he's finally broken through in the V8 Supercars as well as the DBS series with another win for the round. So a win in the DBS and a win in the V8s. Congratulations to F34R Bretley on that one. Outstanding effort. Let's take a look at the final placings here, and you can see recoil just an inch behind Twistie Corners. And then Elsimo a fair way back, 16 seconds behind the race leader, so he's struggling to defend his championship, but he is still racking up some good points. Jake Moe, massive moves from second last place to P5, so that's twice now he's done that. Rescued a poor qualifying session for a decent race result. And looking at the championship standings, and it is Twistie Corners and F34R Bretley, but recoil not far behind, just 2 points behind F34R Bretley in second. And Elsimo, the defending champion, he's got some work cut out. He's got 130 points to gain on Twistie Corners. No mean feat. Twistie would have to have a pretty bad run. And then looking back, you've got some pretty close battles between P5 to P7, and a few very low scores due to missing out on rounds. Thank you very much for watching the V8 Supercar Series Round 3, and we look forward to seeing you at Round 4, which will be coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you for watching.